What if I told you that a young German princess, born far away from Russia, would one day become one of the most powerful women in history? A girl with no claim to the Russian throne would overthrow an emperor, rule for more than 30 years, and transform Russia into one of Europe's greatest empires. She faced danger, political enemies, and betrayal, yet she never gave up. How did an ordinary princess become one of history's most famous rulers? This is the unbelievable and inspiring story of Catherine the Great, the woman who changed Russia forever. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Universal English. Today, we bring you an incredible story of ambition, intelligence, and power. It is the story of a young woman who left her homeland and became one of the greatest rulers in history. Her name was Catherine the Great. Even after more than 200 years, people still admire her leadership, intelligence, and determination. But her journey to greatness was not easy. She was born in a small German kingdom, entered a foreign royal family, and faced many dangers before becoming empress. Yet, she never stopped believing in herself. This is the unbelievable story of Catherine the Great, the powerful empress who transformed Russia. So sit back, relax, and travel back to the 18th century as we discover how a young princess became one of the most powerful women the world has ever known. A princess is born. Our story begins on May 2nd, 1729. In the city of Stettin, in the Kingdom of Prussia, a baby girl was born. Her name was Sophia Augusta Frederica. She came from a noble family, but her family was not rich or powerful. Her father was a military officer and a prince of a small German state. Her mother dreamed of a better future for her daughter. From an early age, Sophia was intelligent and curious. She loved reading books and learning new things. Unlike many girls of her time, she was deeply interested in politics and history. No one could imagine that this young girl would one day rule one of the largest empires in the world. A childhood of learning. Sophia received an excellent education. She studied languages, history, religion, and literature. She learned French, which was considered the language of educated people in Europe. She also enjoyed reading books about great rulers and famous leaders. The young princess was ambitious. She wanted to do something important with her life. She did not yet know how, but she believed she was meant for greatness. This confidence would help her during the many challenges ahead. An unexpected invitation. When Sophia was 14 years old, something extraordinary happened. The Empress of Russia was searching for a bride for her nephew, Peter, who was the future heir to the Russian throne. Sophia's family received an invitation to travel to Russia. This opportunity could change everything. Her mother was excited. A marriage into the Russian royal family would bring great honor. Sophia herself was nervous, but also curious. She knew that accepting the invitation might completely change her future. And so, she began the long journey to Russia. A new life in Russia. When Sophia arrived in Russia, everything was different. The language was different. The customs were different. The people were different. But instead of being afraid, Sophia decided to adapt. She worked hard to learn the Russian language. She studied Russian traditions and culture. She wanted the Russian people to accept her. Her determination impressed many people at the royal court. Soon, she made another important decision. She converted to the Russian Orthodox religion. As part of this change, she received a new name. She became Catherine. The young German princess was slowly becoming Russian. A difficult marriage. In 1745, Catherine married the future emperor Peter. She was only 16 years old. At first, she hoped for a happy marriage. But things did not go as she had imagined. Peter and Catherine were very different. Peter was immature and often behaved like a child. He cared little about politics and spent much of his time playing with toy soldiers. Catherine, however, was intelligent and ambitious. She loved reading and discussing ideas. The marriage quickly became unhappy. The two grew apart. Catherine often felt lonely in the royal palace. But instead of giving up, she used her free time to educate herself. She read books about philosophy, politics, and government. She was preparing herself for a future she could not yet see. A woman with big dreams. As the years passed, Catherine became increasingly interested in leadership. She carefully observed the Russian government. She studied the strengths and weaknesses of the empire. She made friends among powerful nobles and military officers. Many people admired her intelligence and charm. Slowly, she gained support. At the same time, Peter became less popular. Many Russians disliked his behavior and his decisions. Catherine understood something important. The future of Russia might one day depend on her. And deep inside, she believed she was ready for something much greater than being the wife of an unpopular prince. The young German princess had become Catherine of Russia. She had learned a new language, adapted to a new country, and survived an unhappy marriage. But destiny had much bigger plans for her. The intelligent and ambitious young woman was about to face the greatest challenge of her life, a struggle for power that would change Russian history forever. The woman who seized an empire, the death of the empress. In 1762, a major event changed Catherine's life forever. Empress Elizabeth of Russia died. Her nephew, Peter, finally became Emperor Peter III of Russia. According to tradition, Catherine became empress beside her husband. But her position was far from secure. Peter was already unpopular among many Russians. He made several decisions that angered the army, the nobles, and the church. He admired Prussia and its king more than Russia itself. Many people believed he did not truly understand the Russian people. As Peter's popularity fell, Catherine's popularity grew. She had spent years learning the Russian language and culture. She spoke to the nobles with respect and showed interest in the country's future. Many people saw her as a better leader than her husband. No one knew it yet, but Russia was moving toward a dramatic change. A dangerous situation. Catherine soon realized that her own future was in danger. Peter no longer trusted her. Rumors spread that he might divorce her and remove her from power completely. Some even believed that she could be arrested. Catherine knew she had very little time. She could either wait and lose everything, or she could act. The situation was extremely dangerous. If she failed, she might lose her freedom or even her life. But Catherine was brave. She had spent many years preparing herself for leadership. Now, destiny was giving her an opportunity. She decided to take a huge risk. The coup. In July 1762, Catherine made her move. With the support of powerful military officers and important nobles, she launched a coup against her husband. A coup is the sudden removal of a ruler from power. The army quickly declared its loyalty to Catherine. Many soldiers and officials supported her immediately. The people of St. Petersburg also welcomed her. Meanwhile, Peter was shocked. He had not expected such strong support for his wife. Without enough allies, he had little choice. Soon, he gave up the throne. After only 6 months as emperor, Peter III was no longer the ruler of Russia. Catherine had won. A young German princess had just become the ruler of one of the largest empires in the world, becoming empress. At the age of 33, Catherine became Empress of Russia. The moment was extraordinary. A woman who had once arrived in Russia as a foreign teenager was now the most powerful person in the empire. But becoming empress was only the beginning. Ruling Russia would not be easy. Russia was enormous. Millions of people lived under her rule. The country faced economic problems. social inequality, and political challenges. Many people wondered whether Catherine could succeed. She was determined to prove them wrong, the empress who loved knowledge. Unlike many rulers of her time, Catherine loved books and ideas. She admired the thinkers of the Enlightenment, a period when philosophers encouraged reason, education, and progress. She read the works of famous philosophers and exchanged letters with some of Europe's greatest thinkers. Catherine believed that education and knowledge could improve society. She wanted Russia to become more modern. She supported schools, libraries, and the arts. She encouraged learning and intellectual discussion. Her palace became a center of culture and education. People across Europe began to admire the intelligent Russian empress. Changing Russia. Catherine worked hard to improve her empire. She reorganized parts of the government. She built schools and encouraged education for both boys and girls. She supported science and medicine. She also encouraged trade and economic growth. New towns and cities were established during her reign. Roads and buildings were constructed. Russia became stronger and more organized. Of course, not every problem disappeared. The empire still faced many challenges. But there was no doubt that Catherine was transforming Russia. A great builder of culture, Catherine had another passion besides politics. She loved art. She collected paintings, books, and beautiful objects from across Europe. Her collection became one of the greatest art collections in the world. Today, many of these treasures can still be seen in the famous Hermitage Museum. Catherine wanted Russia to become a center of culture and learning. She invited artists, writers, and scholars to her court. Under her rule, Russian culture flourished. People no longer saw Russia as a distant and backward country. They began to see it as an important European power, expanding the empire. Catherine was not only interested in culture and education. She was also a strong political leader. During her reign, Russia expanded its territory significantly. Several wars ended with important victories for the Russian Empire. New lands became part of Russia. The country grew larger and more powerful than ever before. By the end of her reign, Russia had become one of the strongest nations in Europe. Other rulers respected, and sometimes feared, the powerful empress. Challenges and rebellions. Despite her successes, Catherine's rule was not perfect. Many poor people still suffered. Some regions of the empire experienced unrest. At one point, a major rebellion threatened her government. The rebellion was dangerous and spread fear throughout the empire. But Catherine acted quickly. She used the army to restore order. The crisis reminded her that ruling a huge empire was never easy. Every day brought new problems and difficult decisions. Yet she remained strong and continued governing with determination. The most powerful woman in Europe. As the years passed, Catherine's reputation continued to grow. People began calling her Catherine the Great. Very few women in history had achieved so much power and influence. She had transformed Russia into a stronger, richer, and more respected nation. The young German princess, who once arrived in a foreign land, had become one of history's greatest rulers. But her story was not over. Her later years would bring new challenges, and her extraordinary legacy would continue long after her death. The foreign princess had become one of the most powerful women in the world. Through courage, intelligence, and determination, she had seized an empire and transformed it into a great European power. The legacy of Russia's greatest empress. The Golden Age of Russia. By the 1770s and 1780s, Catherine had become one of the most powerful rulers in Europe. Her reign was often called the Golden Age of Russia. The country was stronger, larger, and more respected than ever before. New cities were built. Trade increased. Education improved. The arts and sciences flourished. Writers, artists, and scholars found support under her rule. Foreign visitors who came to Russia were amazed by the changes they saw. Many believed that Catherine had transformed Russia into a great European power. For the young girl who had once left Germany with an uncertain future, it was an extraordinary achievement. A woman who loved learning. Even as empress, Catherine never stopped learning. She spent many hours reading books and writing letters. She admired great thinkers and philosophers. She believed that rulers should continue learning throughout their lives. Every day, she read about politics, history, and science. She also wrote books and stories herself. Few rulers in history loved education as much as Catherine did. She understood something very important. Knowledge is power. She believed that education could improve society and make people better. This love of learning became one of the defining features of her reign. The challenges of power. But being empress was never easy. Russia was a huge empire with millions of people. Every day brought difficult decisions. There were political conflicts, economic problems, and social inequalities. Some people criticized Catherine's policies. Others believed she should make even bigger changes. Being a ruler meant carrying enormous responsibilities. Sometimes she had to make choices that pleased some people and disappointed others. Yet she remained determined. She knew that leadership required courage. The weight of an empire rested on her shoulders. Expanding the Russian Empire. During Catherine's reign, Russia continued growing. The empire gained new territories and became one of the largest countries in the world. Its influence spread across Europe. Other kings and queens respected Catherine's leadership. Some even feared the growing power of Russia. By the end of her reign, Russia had become one of the strongest nations on earth. Catherine had achieved something remarkable. She had taken a powerful country and made it even greater. This is one of the reasons history remembers her as Catherine the Great, the grandmother empress. As the years passed, Catherine grew older. She became a grandmother and spent more time with her family. Despite her age, she continued working tirelessly. She still met with advisors and discussed the future of Russia. She never lost her curiosity. She never stopped thinking about how to improve her empire. Many people admired her energy and determination. Even in her later years, she remained one of the most influential people in Europe. The final years. By the 1790s, Catherine had ruled Russia for more than 30 years. Very few rulers had enjoyed such a long and successful reign. She had witnessed wars, political changes, and countless challenges. But she had overcome them all. She often reflected on her incredible journey. A German princess had become one of the greatest rulers in Russian history. Her life had been filled with ambition, courage, and hard work. She had achieved more than she could have imagined as a young girl. The death of Catherine the Great. On November 17, 1796, Catherine the Great passed away at the age of 67. The news spread quickly across Russia and Europe. Many people were shocked and saddened. She had ruled for 34 years and had become one of the most famous women in the world. Her son, Paul, became the new emperor. But Catherine's reign had already left an unforgettable mark on history. The powerful empress was gone. Yet her legacy would live on for centuries. Why is she called the Great? History remembers only a few rulers with the title, the Great. Catherine earned this title because she transformed her country. She expanded Russia's territory. She encouraged education and culture. She strengthened the government. She turned Russia into one of Europe's most important powers. Of course, historians still debate some of her decisions and policies. No ruler is perfect. But there is no doubt that Catherine changed the course of Russian history. Her achievements were extraordinary. Few women, and few men, have ruled with such influence and success. Lessons from Catherine's life. What can we learn from Catherine the Great? First, never stop learning. Catherine believed that knowledge was one of the greatest sources of power. Second, be willing to adapt. She moved to a foreign country, learned a new language, and embraced a new culture. Third, courage matters. She faced danger and uncertainty but never gave up. And finally, believe in your potential. A young girl from a small German family became one of history's most powerful rulers. Her life teaches us that our beginnings do not determine our future. With determination and hard work, extraordinary things are possible. The story of Catherine the Great is the story of ambition, intelligence, and courage. A foreign princess became the ruler of one of the largest empires in the world. She transformed Russia and left a legacy that still fascinates historians today. Her life reminds us that leadership requires vision, determination, and the courage to face difficult challenges. Because one dream can inspire a journey. One decision can change a life. And one determined person can change the history of an entire nation. Just as Catherine the Great did. Thank you for watching this inspiring story on Universal English. If you enjoyed this biography, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Keep learning, keep dreaming, and never stop believing in your potential. See you in the next inspiring story.